It was a rainy afternoon in the small town of Elmsworth. The kind of rain that felt like a permanent gray curtain, closing off the dreams of anyone who dared to think differently. Among the rusted rooftops and muddy streets lived a young man named Ayaan Malik. At 27, Ayaan had the quiet desperation of someone who had tasted failure far more than success. Yet in his chest beat a heart that refused to settle. From a young age, Ayaan had been a thinker, a dreamer. While others played outside, Ayaan sat by his bedroom window, sketching ideas in a ragged notebook. In those pages were inventions that never left the paper, business plans that were never funded, and wild ideas the world never gave a chance. His parents, though loving, often sighed in disappointment. "Ayaan, when will you stop chasing the clouds?" His father would ask, eyes heavy with worry. "You need something real." Ayaan wanted to build something revolutionary. An idea had been sitting in his mind for the past 2 years, a simple mobile app. But not just any app. It was an artificial intelligence-based career guidance tool that could identify a person's hidden potential and map out realistic goals for their future, no matter where they started. He called it Pathfinder. But no one took it seriously. His friends? They laughed. "Come on, bro. You don't even know how to code an app. You failed your computer science diploma twice," one of them said during a late-night hangout. Investors? They brushed him off. "You want us to believe a guy from Elmsworth, with no formal degree, can disrupt a billion-dollar career counseling industry?" Even his own family gave up hope. Ayaan's mother began sewing clothes again to make ends meet. His father took a part-time job at a grocery store. And Ayaan? He worked late nights delivering food to save for his dream. But Ayaan's belief never wavered. He began learning to code through free courses. On slow nights, after food deliveries, he would sit at the back of his scooter, under the flickering street lamp, taking notes, writing code on his old, cracked laptop. He couldn't afford new equipment or a developer, but he had a vision, and he had heart. Months passed, and progress was painfully slow. Debugging took days. Servers crashed. His laptop froze in the middle of saving progress. Once, he lost an entire week's worth of code. He cried that night. But then, something strange happened. A little boy named Bilal, about 15 years old, helped Ayaan fix a back-end issue at a local internet cafe. The boy had been watching over Ayaan's shoulder for days. Quietly observing. Quietly learning. "I think your if condition is wrong," Bilal said one day. Ayaan stared at him. "What?" Bilal pointed. "You're not closing the loop correctly." The issue was resolved. That one moment gave Ayaan an idea. What if the app didn't just help with career guidance, but also gave access to free skill-building tools? What if kids like Bilal, living in towns like Elmsworth, could unlock their genius with a little push? That's when the fire truly ignited. Ayaan restructured Pathfinder to include 3 parts: discover to identify strengths, build to provide learning paths, and connect to link users with mentors. But now, he needed funding. He started pitching to startup forums online. Rejections kept piling in. One pitch ended with, "Your story is great, but your background isn't convincing." That night, he almost gave up. Almost. But instead of quitting, he recorded a heartfelt video pitch of himself explaining the idea, the impact it could have, and the lives it could change. He uploaded it to YouTube with the title, "They Laughed at Me for Dreaming, But I Still Believe." It barely got 300 views. Until, 3 weeks later, a famous motivational speaker reposted the video on his channel. The speaker, Kareem Aftab, had millions of subscribers and was known for giving underdogs a chance. Within 48 hours, the video hit 2.1 million views. Suddenly, Ayaan's email was flooded. Tech forums invited him to speak. Freelancers offered to help. But the most unexpected thing came in next, a direct message from an angel investor based in Dubai. "Hi Ayaan. I saw your pitch. I want to talk. Ziad Khan." Ziad turned out to be the founder of one of the largest remote education startups in the Middle East. He flew to Pakistan just to meet Ayaan. In their first meeting, Ayaan showed him the working prototype. "I'm impressed," Ziad said, leaning back in his chair. "It's raw. But it's powerful." "I just want to change lives," Ayaan replied, eyes burning with conviction. Ziad smiled. "Then let's do it." He offered a $50,000 seed investment in exchange for 15% equity. Ayaan didn't hesitate. That same night, he signed the deal, with trembling hands and tears in his eyes. The boy who was once laughed at was now leading a team of 5, building the app of his dreams. But little did he know, this was just the beginning. The day Ayaan walked out of his old life and into the world of uncertainty was the day his real story began. He moved into a cramped, one-bedroom apartment above a noisy street corner cafe. It smelled like old coffee and fresh anxiety. The walls were thin, the bed creaked, and the Wi-Fi worked only when it rained, but it was his sanctuary. With only a second-hand laptop, a whiteboard full of ideas, and a will carved from years of rejection, Ayaan began building Pathfinder. Pathfinder wasn't just an app. It was a rebellion. Ayaan's dream was to create a platform that helped students and young professionals, especially those from underprivileged backgrounds, find personalized career guidance using AI and real-time market insights. He wanted to build something that told them, "You matter. Your dream matters. And here's your way forward." But dreams, like seeds, need more than just hope. They need rain, light, and a lot of patience. At first, things moved slowly. Every morning, Ayaan would sit by the window with a notebook and coffee that tasted more like regret than energy. He'd sketch user flows, write code, test algorithms, fail, try again. Days turned into weeks. The app started to take shape, barely. His savings were melting faster than snow on a hot plate. One morning, his friend Zion visited. Zion had been his classmate and one of the few people who didn't laugh when Ayaan shared his vision. "You're burning out, bro," Zion said, tossing a bag of groceries on the floor. "When was the last time you ate something that wasn't noodles or ambition?" Ayaan chuckled, rubbing his eyes. "I'll eat when the MVP is ready." Zion believed in Ayaan. So much so that he agreed to become the first unofficial co-founder and helped refine the vision, especially the student journey and the user interface. But not everyone in Ayaan's circle shared the enthusiasm. Some of Ayaan's former classmates, now working cushy jobs, sent him mocking memes and sarcastic texts. "Still coding in your pajamas? Any investors yet, or just dreams?" He ignored most of them. But the isolation and pressure sometimes spoke louder than his determination. One night, alone and exhausted, Ayaan stared at the blinking cursor on his screen and whispered, "What if they were right?" That night, Ayaan almost quit. But the next morning, something changed. He received a message from a 17-year-old boy named Ravi from a small town in India. Ravi had stumbled upon an early version of Pathfinder Ayaan had quietly posted online. The message read, "Sir, I don't know if this app is complete. But it showed me careers I didn't know existed. I'm studying to be a data analyst now. Thank you. This gave me hope." Ayaan stared at the message for a long time. And then, something inside him snapped, not with despair but with resolve. "This is why I started." He doubled down. He and Zion began reaching out to mentors, conducting interviews with students, tweaking the algorithm. But with visibility came vultures. One afternoon, Ayaan received a shocking email. His code had been leaked. Someone had uploaded parts of Pathfinder's backend to a GitHub repository and claimed it as their own. It was a betrayal, and the leak traced back to someone they had once shared an early prototype with, a college friend they had trusted. Ayaan's chest tightened with anger and disbelief. Zion clenched his fists. "We trusted him. What now?" Ayaan stood silent, fists shaking at his sides. "Now, we build it better. Let him have the old shell. We'll make it bulletproof." They worked day and night, rewriting the backend, adding layers of encryption, and building new, unique features. But the incident left scars, especially in Ayaan. He began doubting everyone, including himself. Was he too trusting? Was he built for this? He stopped taking calls, stopped replying to encouraging messages. He buried himself in code. One night, Zion had had enough. "Look at yourself, man. You're not fighting them, you're burning yourself down." Ayaan looked at him, eyes bloodshot. "If I don't fight, everything burns anyway." "But you don't have to fight alone," Zion said softly. That night, they made a pact. They'd bring in a small team, people who believed in the mission, not just the money. Over the next month, Ayaan and Zion recruited 3 passionate individuals, a UI/UX designer named Myra, a backend wizard named Danish, and a psychology grad named Sana who helped design the app's emotional intelligence features. With the new team, Pathfinder evolved rapidly. It could now detect learning patterns, offer voice-based support for visually impaired users, and even connect users to real mentors based on interest and region. But just when things were starting to look up, another blow landed. An investor they had pitched to, a well-known angel investor, launched a competing product eerily similar to Pathfinder, with a massive marketing budget. Their dreams were now up against giants. Zion panicked. "We can't compete with that. They'll crush us before we even launch." But Ayaan's eyes had fire again.
Let them come. We're not here to compete.
We're here to connect. Our strength is not in money. It's in meaning. Instead of focusing on the threat, they focused on the users. They launched a beta version in 3 rural schools and 5 urban colleges. The feedback was overwhelming.
Students wrote in.
This helped me realize I want to be a marine biologist. I always thought I was dumb. But this showed me I just learned differently.
Thank you.
No one ever asked me what I wanted to do. Tears welled in Ayaan's eyes as he read each one. His heart, once tired, now pulsed with quiet power. In a small launch event held at a community center, no frills, no flashing lights, Pathfinder officially went live. The road ahead was still uncertain. The giants were still out there. But Ayaan knew something now. They had started a fire, not just in servers and screens, but in the hearts of people who needed direction. And no amount of money or marketing could extinguish that. He stood before the team, looked around at Zion, Myra, Danish and Sanaa and said, "We're not building an app. We're building hope." It had been just 3 months since Pathfinder went live. 3 months, and yet the app had already begun to ripple through corners of the country that even government programs struggled to reach. In small towns, in dilapidated schools where chalk dust floated thicker than hope, teachers began incorporating Pathfinder into lessons. Ayaan's inbox overflowed with gratitude, stories of students who'd never believed they could do anything suddenly dreaming of data science, robotics, marine biology, design, or aviation. The user count surged past 50,000 within weeks. Then 100,000. One morning, Zion burst into the apartment where Ayaan and the team had been practically living. "Dude, we made it to TechRise Weekly. Look at this headline, the startup giving hope to the forgotten dot." Ayaan rubbed his eyes and took the tablet from Zion's hand. His face lit up, but his expression quickly turned unreadable. They'd done it. They'd caught attention. But with visibility comes weight. That same week, Ayaan got a call from a well-dressed, sharp-voiced man named Mr. Rajat Khurana, a venture capitalist from Apex Nova, one of the country's most aggressive VC firms. "I like what you've built, Ayaan," Rajat said smoothly. "And I believe you're sitting on a billion-dollar revolution." Ayaan hesitated. He hadn't expected money to knock so quickly. "We're still learning," Ayaan replied. "Still growing." Which is exactly when you need guidance. We can invest 10 crores immediately. Scale your infrastructure. Bring in marketing. Crush your competitors. That word, crush, struck an odd chord in Ayaan's chest. Still, the team celebrated. 10 crores could help build servers, hire engineers, improve the recommendation engine, expand outreach, and ease the burden on their overworked team. But Zion pulled Ayaan aside. "I don't trust Apex Nova," he said. "They'll take more than they give." Ayaan stared at the screen showing a proposed contract. "They're offering everything we need," he replied quietly. "Yeah. But what do they need from us?" After 3 days of sleepless discussions, Ayaan met Rajat again. "I appreciate the offer," Ayaan said, "but I want Pathfinder to remain free for users. It was built for the kids who can't afford help." Rajat smiled, too calmly. Of course. But eventually, we'd want a premium model. Maybe, let's say, some ads. Just enough to support scalability." "Then it's a no." Rajat's smile thinned. "You'll regret this, Ayaan. You may be idealistic, but the world runs on realism." Ayaan ended the meeting and walked away, but the warning lingered like smoke in his mind. And soon enough, the storm began. 3 weeks later, Pathfinder was accused of data exploitation by a mysterious article published in a rival tech blog. The claim was baseless, but the damage was instant. Downloads stalled. Social media swirled with half-truths. Who are these kids managing sensitive user data? Is it even secure? Just another failed dream. The team was shattered. Myra cried. Danish cursed the internet. Zion wanted to launch a legal counterattack. But Ayaan stood calm. Bruised, but not broken. He called a team meeting. "No panic," he said. "We clean the code, publish a transparency report, explain our process. No hiding." They worked for 72 hours straight, creating a public dashboard, cleaning every line of backend, auditing every third-party dependency. Sanaa crafted a beautifully raw video explaining their mission, struggles and vision, released it with the tagline, "We don't mine data. We mine dreams." The response was electric. Support poured in. Teachers uploaded classroom videos using Pathfinder. Influencers began sharing student success stories. The hashtag #PathfindHope began trending on Twitter. Then came something Ayaan never expected. He was invited to speak at the National Youth Empowerment Summit, on the main stage, in front of CEOs, educators and students from all over the country. The night before the speech, Ayaan couldn't sleep. He looked around at his team, Zion editing a UI mockup, Myra sketching the next roadmap, Danish passed out with his head on the keyboard, Sana watching student interviews and crying quietly. Ayaan stepped outside.
The wind was cool. But his heart raced.
"I never asked to be the face of anything," he whispered. He thought of his father, the silence, the skepticism, the constant disappointment. Ayaan had once wanted to prove him wrong. Now all he wanted was to prove his purpose right. The next day, on stage, Ayaan stood silently for 5 full seconds before speaking.
And then,
"I was laughed at for dreaming too loud. Today, I'm here because one idea refused to die." He spoke not like a polished CEO, but like a boy who had walked through fire, still carrying the scars, and still choosing to build. The crowd stood in ovation. After the speech, several investors approached.
this time, respectfully. This time, without ultimatums.
But the biggest surprise came a few days later, in an envelope slipped under their co-working space door.
A letter. To Ayaan. I watched your speech.
I don't have words. I never thought my son could do what you've done. I don't say this often, but
I was wrong.
I'm proud of you.
Come home sometime. Let's talk. Abu.
Ayaan stared at the letter.
Hands shaking.
He hadn't seen his father in almost 2 years. Zion walked in and found him standing still. "What's that?" Ayaan didn't reply.
He just smiled.
A beginning. But peace never lasts long when you're rising. Just when the team was finalizing a nationwide rollout plan, Sana stumbled across something disturbing. "Guys, you need to see this." She showed them an app on the Play Store, almost identical to Pathfinder. Same features. Slightly modified UI.
Different name. And worse?
It was backed by Apex Nova. Rajat had built a replica, clearly using what he'd learned during their initial pitch meetings, and had launched it with millions in ads, onboarding celebrities, and promising AI career revolution for every student. The betrayal had gone public. The competitor app was gaining steam fast. Ayaan's team was again at a crossroads. Do they fight fire with fire? Zion was furious.
Let's sue them.
Myra said, no one will listen. They'll say we're small fish crying foul. Danish suggested, let's leak the truth to the press.
But Ayaan? He stared at the codebase.
At his notebook from years ago. The first page still read, "This isn't about being first. It's about being right." He closed the notebook and said quietly, let them run.
We'll walk.
With everyone who truly believes. And so, they did the unthinkable. They opened up Pathfinder's core tools, made a community version, free to use, modify, and localize in any language. This is for every teacher, parent, student who wants to dream freely, Ayaan wrote in the launch post.
No cost. No catch.
Just a spark. Within days, local developers across the globe began contributing. Translating the app into Bengali, Marathi, Swahili, Urdu, Tamil. NGOs began reaching out. International media picked up the story.
They weren't just a startup anymore. They were a movement.
Success can be quiet for some. For Ayaan, it roared. After the open source launch of Pathfinder Community, the project exploded across continents. Articles titled "The Boy Who Changed the Game" surfaced everywhere. TechCrunch, Wired, Forbes Asia. College campuses across India were hosting hackathons based solely on Pathfinder. UNICEF invited the team to discuss scalable education in underprivileged areas. But with growth came shadows, longer and colder than Ayaan had anticipated. The team no longer worked in a cramped apartment. They had an office now, glass walls, standing desks, a rooftop space with string lights and beanbags. But something about the new space made Ayaan feel like a visitor in his own vision. Their product manager, newly hired, polished and MBA minted, kept pushing for user retention funnels, gamified upselling, and sponsored partnerships. Zion wasn't having it. "We didn't build this to turn kids into KPIs," he snapped during one meeting. "It's called sustainability," the product manager replied coolly. "Even dreams need funding." Zion stormed out. Myra, now leading a small design team, pulled Ayaan aside that evening. "He's right, you know. We're drifting." Ayaan ran a hand through his hair, now longer than before, unkempt from months of 12-hour days. His face had grown more angular, his voice more calculated. But something inside him was fraying. We have impact metrics to hit. Donors are watching. Governments are waiting, he replied.
Myra didn't respond. She just looked at him, really looked at him. Then walked away.
That night, Ayaan stayed at the office alone. He opened the original Pathfinder prototype, the first version he coded on a second-hand laptop, when the buttons stuck and the screen flickered with each tap.
It was simple. Raw. Imperfect. Beautiful.
A notification popped up, a scheduled video call with a group of students from a remote village in Assam who had been using Pathfinder Community.
He almost cancelled.
Then sighed and clicked.
What he saw floored him.
A single teacher, one blackboard, 15 students, each sharing a broken Android phone between them, and all beaming with excitement. The children had drawn flowcharts on the board based on the app's suggestions for career paths. One girl named Ritu raised her hand shyly and said, "I want to build satellites now. I didn't know girls could do that before Pathfinder told me I could."
Ayaan blinked fast.
Before logging off, Ritu asked, "Will this app always be free?"
He paused. Yes. Always, he promised. But deep down, he wasn't sure anymore. The next week, the breaking point came.
A government agency offered to adopt Pathfinder nationally, on one condition: integrate biometric login and allow back-end data access for monitoring student performance. Danish, now head of engineering, was livid.
That's surveillance.
That's a complete breach of everything we promised.
Zion exploded.
If you say yes to this, we walk.
But Ayaan hesitated.
This was the biggest opportunity yet.
Millions of students.
Institutional backing. Recognition beyond anything he'd ever dreamed.
He needed time.
Later that night, he visited his father. They hadn't spoken much after that letter. The silence still hung like a cobweb between them. His father poured him tea. "You've done more than I ever thought possible," he said. Ayaan looked at him, cautious.
But
his father's eyes crinkled. "But don't forget who you were when no one was watching." The words lingered. Back in the office the next day, Ayaan held a team meeting. "I won't allow data access," he said quietly.
"We'll scale slower.
But we won't sell out."
Zion gave a tight nod.
Myra smiled, a weight lifting from her face. Danish punched the air. But not everyone was happy. Their new operations manager quit. So did 2 developers who had joined for the funding buzz. One of the donors retracted their grant. Within a month, the budget was slashed, the office was downsized, and the roadmap delayed. Ayaan sat on the rooftop one night, alone again. And that's when Sana showed up, with a file. User feedback reports. I was analyzing them and found something strange. She handed him a printed page. On it were dozens of feedback entries, all fake.
Same tone. Similar typos.
Designed to slowly paint Pathfinder in a negative light.
"Sabotage," she whispered.
"Someone's trying to bleed us out from the inside."
They traced the IPs.
It led to a shell content agency, linked of course, to Apex Nova. Rajat was playing the long game. He couldn't out-innovate them, so he was trying to outlast them. Ayaan leaned back, looking at the stars. Cold wind brushed his face. "We fight back."
Sana nodded.
"But not how they expect." Ayaan smiled, tired but fiercely alive again.
"No lawsuits. No drama.
Let's outdream them." And so, they pivoted. They launched Pathfinder Guild, a mentorship network connecting former users who'd succeeded with new users just starting their journey. Seniors became guides. Engineers, scientists, artists, all former dreamers now helping the next batch rise. They created a storytelling platform called Found It, where students shared their transformation journeys, stories that resonated more than any ad campaign ever could. And slowly, the tide turned again. The media picked up the positive buzz. NGOs partnered freely. Even companies started hiring directly from Pathfinder Guild, trusting its unique model over standard resumes. It wasn't just an app anymore. It was a living, breathing ecosystem. And in that ecosystem, Ayaan found something he hadn't realized he was missing. Peace. Not the peace of fame or funding or being right. But the peace that comes from knowing that the laughter behind your back doesn't matter when the people ahead of you are walking because you lit the way. One night, back on the old apartment balcony, Zion, Myra, Danish, and Sana sat with Ayaan. "We're not millionaires," Danish said, raising his soda can. "Not in rupees anyway."
Ayaan smiled. "No," he said.
"But in something better." Myra raised an eyebrow.
"What?"
Ayaan looked around, at his friends, his team, his family.
In belief.
And maybe belief was the real currency after all.
Years passed.
The sun that used to rise over a rented apartment in the dusty part of town now streamed through the tall windows of the Pathfinder Global Headquarters, a building nestled in the heart of Bengaluru's Innovation District. But though everything had changed, one thing remained: Ayaan's quiet routine. Every morning before the team arrived, he'd walk through the small in-house museum, the Journey Room. It was Myra's idea, built entirely by volunteer contributors. On one wall hung his first doodle of Pathfinder's idea, scrawled on tissue paper. Another had testimonials from children around the world, some handwritten, some recorded, some printed on fabric sent from refugee camps in Syria, flood-hit villages in Bangladesh, and drought-stricken schools in Kenya. And there, at the very end of the room, was a photo. One Ayaan had placed himself.
A grainy image.
Of a 19-year-old boy being laughed at on stage during a college startup pitch. He stared at that photo each day. Not with bitterness, but with gratitude. It reminded him where it all began. But that morning, something unusual happened. As he left the museum and walked toward his office, Sana intercepted him. "You need to see this," she said, handing him a tablet. On the screen was a name he hadn't heard in years.
Rajat Sharma.
Attached was a message.
Dear Ayaan,
I owe you an apology and an explanation. I've made mistakes. Some you saw, most you didn't. But I'm not writing to clear my conscience.
I'm dying. Cancer. Stage 4. No drama, no self-pity.
I've been following your journey. What you've built, it's remarkable.
And it's real.
I have one request before I go.
One meeting. Come alone. Tomorrow. If you can. Rajat.
Ayaan stared at the screen. Memories flashed, Rajat humiliating him, blocking his ideas, mocking his dream. The boardroom silence.
The funding snatched. The sabotage.
He had every reason to delete the message.
But he didn't. The next morning, he went.
The hospital was quiet. The kind of quiet that seeps into your soul and makes you think about everything you tried to forget.
Rajat looked different. Pale. Hollow-eyed.
But there was something else: humility. Not the kind that's forced, but the kind pain chisels into people.
I thought you wouldn't come, Rajat whispered. I almost didn't, Ayaan replied.
They sat in silence for a long time. Finally, Rajat said, "You remember that day on stage? When I laughed at you?"
Ayaan nodded.
"I wasn't laughing at your idea. I was laughing out of fear," Rajat said.
Because I knew you were right.
And I knew I couldn't match your conviction. So I did what cowards do: I mocked what I couldn't build." Ayaan's jaw clenched slightly.
He stayed quiet.
"I had all the money, the contacts, the team. But I didn't have belief. You did." Rajat pulled out a USB stick. "This has everything I built. Apex Nova, the research archives, the AI frameworks, and all the patents I filed, some based on your early work. I'm giving it to you." Ayaan blinked. "I don't want it," he said quietly. "You don't have to use it. Just do something better with it than I did," Rajat replied.
There was a pause.
"I was wrong, Ayaan. You didn't just build an app. You built a world people actually want to live in." Ayaan swallowed the lump in his throat. "I forgive you," he whispered. Rajat's eyes welled up. "Thank you." He died 3 days later. Ayaan returned home different.
Not broken. Not triumphant. Just aware.
Aware of how thin the line was between dreams and delusions. Between winning and becoming the thing you fought against. He called a team meeting the next morning. "I want us to build something new," he told them. The whiteboard was cleared. The markers uncapped. What emerged in the next few weeks was a radical idea. Pathfinder Nexus. A platform that didn't just help people discover their paths, but connected them to others walking similar ones in real time. It wasn't an app. It was a global mentorship loop: students in Ghana mentored by students in India, rural teachers in Nepal paired with edtech volunteers in Brazil.
And the best part?
It was powered not by AI, but by people. It spread like wildfire. One day, Ayaan stood in front of a crowd of 10,000 at a United Nations Innovation Summit. They were honoring Pathfinder for impacting over 200 million lives globally. When he stepped up to the mic, cameras flashing, applause thunderous, he didn't say what people expected. He told them a story. About a boy who once stood on a stage and was laughed at for believing that one idea could change lives. About the friends who didn't leave. The enemies who taught him more than they knew. The nights he cried. The days he fought. And the morning he chose forgiveness over revenge. He ended with this. Success isn't about how loud the world claps for you. It's about how many lights you turn on for others in the darkness.
The crowd went still. Then, the standing ovation began.
Back home, later that week, Ayaan sat on that same old rooftop. Myra sat beside him, sketching. Zion was telling a story. Danish was building a Lego prototype for some reason. Sana was updating their latest numbers.
They were still the same. Older. Wiser. But the same.
Ayaan smiled to himself. Then he stood up, walked inside, and looked at a framed note on his wall. It was the same letter he had written to his father years ago. He read the last line again. I know it's risky, but I believe in it. I believe in me. He placed the letter back and whispered to the wind. I was laughed at once, but I had one idea. He looked out at the sky, and it made me a millionaire. Not in wealth, but in worth.